Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Teak and Chris podcast. My name is Christopher Long, and with me, as always, is
I'm Pratik Desai. I am really feeling great gratitude today. I'll talk a little bit about why, but I'm just feeling good. I'm feeling good, Chris.
fantastic. That's how we like to live our lives, if possible. And because you're feeling so good, why don't you kick us off today? What are we talking about?
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about why I'm feeling so good. So, I'm a huge consumer of quotes. I love them. Hero quotes, everything from Albert Einstein to Isaac Newton to Kobe Bryant. If the folks that are listening don't know, I'm a massive Kobe Bryant fan. And I ran a Gemini task that every day gives me quotes. Today's quote got me energized. Ready? Albert Einstein. In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. And I've just been approaching the last few weeks, months with just an idea of what could go right. There's just a lot of difficulties around us, a lot. And my question is, where's the opportunity and what could go right? So it just has me energized. I'm ready to go, Chris. I'm ready to go for today. I'm ready to go for the week.
I love it. Okay, so let's go. Let's go.
Okay, I've got a few topics. No particular order. I don't know if we're going to deep dive into every single one of them. I'm going to lay them out. A few of them are just from Jensen Huang. For those of you that don't know that name, that is the CEO of NVIDIA. Amazing human being and amazing at just what he has done in business and technology and an inspirational guy in general. Um, he was on the stage doing his keynote, doing his thing for his company, selling as he always does. That's his role, right? But he said a few things that were just really interesting to me. I'm gonna play a few quotes here for you, or I'm gonna say them. Number one, just like companies once needed an internet strategy and a cloud strategy, now every company in the world today needs an open claw strategy. This is the new computer. So that's quote number one. We're gonna dissect that. Quote number two, because you're out of imagination, for companies with imagination, you will do more with more. For companies where leadership is just out of ideas, they have nothing else to do, they have no reason to imagine greater than they are then. When they have more capacity, they don't do more. Quote number three, if a person said 500,000, or sorry, 5,000, this is in regards to how many tokens did you consume at the end of the year. If the person that I highly pay said 5,000, I will go ape something else. This is a direct quote. If that engineer did not consume at least 250,000 worth of tokens, I'm going to be deeply alarmed. Basically saying at the end of the year, if we measure how many tokens a person has consumed, and they don't consume a lot, which assumes you're using AI a lot, I would be deeply alarmed by their performance. These are some heavy quotes. I threw a lot at you there. Where do you want to start?
I think we can go in order. The first quote was about companies needing strategies for OpenClaw, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a little bit because I think it is safe to replace OpenClaw with whatever agentic
Hmm.
process you can automate and that can run proactively, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be OpenClaw. In fact, like Claude just released a couple things. One, the ability to automate
Hmm.
tasks, right? And then also the ability to talk to your Claude or your Claude cowork and tell it to do things, and you can be on like
Yep.
your phone. So very like they're quickly approaching like the promise of OpenClaw, right? So um, is it every company needs a strategy for that? Is the question. It's just a strategy to be able to have proactive agents
Hmm.
running without you interacting with them all the time. Um,
Yeah.
I it's interesting, right? Because I mean, I think the general answer is probably yes. You need to start thinking about that, but I think this is actually more impactful for small and medium businesses than it
Hmm.
is for enterprises right now. Like, I think a small business could leverage this um, right now and increase their revenue. For enterprises, we know how enterprises work, right? like
Hmm.
adopting something that can run by itself. There's a lot of red tape you have to cut through to make that happen. Um, so, does every company need to think about it? I mean, sure, that sounds like something someone would say who is supplying the hardware for these things. Um, but I don't think it's unreasonable for you to start thinking about it. I think in reality, small businesses right now should think about it the most. What do you think?
Yeah, let's say exactly what you meant by someone selling the hardware is saying these things. Every single one of these quotes benefits him directly in the fact that every single one of these quotes will require a massive amount of consumption of his chips at NVIDIA. So let's just get that out of the way, right? Like these are just things that benefit him to say out loud. Let's ignore that for the first, or let's just ignore that in general. Let's focus on what does it mean. In terms of open claw strategy, I like the reframing. Let's just replace it with agentic strategy, right? We don't have to actually put his perspective down on what particular platform or product. Um, I like where your head's at, right? I would actually push further and say a strategy is not necessarily just are you doing it today? It's a strategy in regards to how are we going to do it, when are we going to do it, and what's the right way to do it. So I think the answer is yes, SMB, but also enterprises, right? They all need to be thinking about how are we going to do this. I think what you're referring to in terms of SMB is it's going to be a lot easier to answer those
Yes.
questions
Yeah, you could get it going quickly.
quickly, right? Exactly. And I think they're going to have an easier time getting it quickly because you have a smaller amount of group of people to train. You have a smaller amount of folks at the leadership level to kind of get him bought in, and potentially your leadership gets their hands dirty and actually gets into the tactics of every single workflow. So I think the answer is yes, and also enterprise needs to start thinking about this and start marching around it, right? Where are those workflows? Where are those workflows that you can kind of um, open up? And I don't like the idea of coming up with new workflows or new experiences, right? Then you have to like prove out the experience in the workflow and the AI technology, and you have to prove both. And you don't know what failed. Did the AI fail? Or did the hypothesis that that workflow was promising fail? I like the idea of looking at current workflows. If you're an SMB, if you're an enterprise, look at what your workflows are today. Figure out what to open up. What should have been better solved with agentic technology or all solved with agentic technology. By definition, that workflow is important to you. You do it today. And so then you don't have to prove out the workflow. You just have to prove out the tech. So yeah, I mean, I think this makes sense. It behooves him to say it. He wants to sell chips. But I agree with him. This is the new computer. It's the new way of doing work. So you got to think about it.
The I'm trying to think of some use cases, like, and that I think the possibilities are kind of endless. So that actually makes it a little more difficult to sit
Hmm.
down and just say, okay, this is what I would do with it. If I had an agent who could just think for itself and do things for itself, like what would I have it do?
Hmm.
Um, so, do we have any like decent ideas? I mean, the simple things that come to mind are small business things like, okay, I need someone who can answer my phone, respond to emails, um, do these things uh, that maybe is expensive for me to hire someone to do. But those are very
Yeah.
simple use cases. Like, do we have any, like, I've seen some use cases about, like, okay, I'll tell my computer to run a report for me, but those don't
Hmm.
sound great for an agent. Like, I can automate reports. I don't need an agent to run a report unless it's doing some kind of thinking. I guess that's the thing,
It's the
is the
thinking. Yeah.
promise is the thinking. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's the thinking. It, I think the the question's valid, right? I think everyone's always going to be asking for use cases to get started on these things. We want to make this human, right? The intention is to focus on the human side of the value of AI. So if you're a small business owner, or if you're a large business owner, or if you're part of a workflow and you own the workflow, I think the question is really just where did you hand off from automation technology to a part of your business that has to do the thinking? And it's those like small level tasks that are distractions to your folks, your people that actually should be focused on other things. Can you hand off that thinking to an agent, OpenClaw, whatever, again, whatever technology you're using, can you hand off that thinking? Simple things like lead routing or case routing takes a lot of time, and it's not high value to you as your business to be able to do that and staff a ton of people to try to just figure that out. Those are things that make a lot of sense to just think about agentically. I think also as a human, I'll be honest. When OpenClaw came out, one of the first things I did was dust off an old laptop. First, I had to charge it because I was like, "Is this thing even going to start?" Right? But I dusted off the old laptop and I just started playing around. I was like, "What is just so annoying to me day to day?" One of the biggest things for me is managing my calendar. I just hate it. I hate doing it. I don't want to do it. And there are certain things that I do every single day in terms of critical thought that I can't just automate. And so that was the first use case I used with my OpenClaw, is just manage my calendar on a certain basis. By the way, one of the biggest things I do is look at weather, right? Then make some determinations on, what, I had planned to go to the store, or I had planned to go to, the bank or whatever it is. Let's just modify that based on weather. Is it snowing? Is it not snowing? And start moving things around. So there's critical thought that happens outside. Can that all be automated? I think to a certain extent, but when you add in that little bit of layer of critical thought, I think it pushes the use case a little forward.
So I have a question about what you're doing, if we could talk about it for a second. So does your solution, if you will, actually change dates on and times on calendars based on the weather, or does it just inform you that, hey, you need to go look at your calendar because it's going to rain from 2 o'clock on Tuesday?
Yeah, so starting off, it did not change anything. Starting off, it gave me a plan and it said, here's my recommendation on it, how you action these findings. Now I let it do it. I have given it access to my personal Gmail calendar through the API, right? It's all set up through, which by the way, I vibe coded, right? I
So
didn't
this is
do
a
any of this setup.
you vibe coded some kind of middleware-ish app to do this.
Let's call it a middleware for now. I mean, OpenClaw is tapping into something, yeah, and that has access to it, knows it has access to, and it considers it a skill that it can action on. So now it does take the action. It now does move things around, right, for me, within guardrails, though, right? This is the key point to this is the guardrails I have given it. It's not allowed to move doctor's appointments, right? You can't just move a doctor appointment and hope that the doctor's office will just know that, right? There are certain actions that need to be taken before you move a doctor's appointment. But running to the bank, running to the grocery store, and again within reason, right? It also has instructions on how often we run out of groceries. So you can't just move it 2 months into the future, right? It's a day at a time, it's a few hours at a time, but it's looking at certain things. If I have a flight that I need to take for work, that needs to be accounted for, right? Can't just move the flight. So there are certain little things that I've been playing around with just to see how it works. So I would say even at the individual level, you need to have an agentic strategy, right? This is the new computer. This is how we're going to work.
Is if you had to grade your your I'm going to call it an assistant. If you had to grade your assistant right now on how well it's doing at obeying your guardrails and making logical choices, what kind of grade would you give it?
The answer is that it depends on the model, right? So with OpenClaw, with your bots, you can choose the model, and the performance does change. The performance changes with an open source model. You can use an open source model, which I bought. By the way, I love those, right? I love the idea that these things, which should be hostable on your own tech, are hostable on your own tech. The open source models sometimes have hallucinations, sometimes do weird things, and I've tried them, and I think everyone should play around with them, right? I think that is a part of our future is being able to host your own models. You use Claude. I mean, I have yet to find an issue. I have yet to find a mistake, or let's not use the word mistake. I have yet to find something where it performed an action that I did not agree to or align to, right? It absolutely did what I asked. Now, there were instances where I'm like, oh man, I didn't count, I didn't account for that edge case in the guardrails, in the instructions. So that's not on it. It played within the rules. It did what I asked. It just wasn't desirable. So I had to go back and kind of prompt the new instructions to account for that edge case. So it
So
wasn't a
that
mistake.
it was a mistake, but that reminds me of uh, the models, how much they matter. Because
Hmm.
when all of this started, the first one I really like adopted was ChatGPT, was OpenAI, and then kind of found my way into Claude because I code, and that made sense because Claude is so good at it.
Yep.
Although all of these are getting very good at coding, like,
Hmm.
but
Yep.
Claude is right now. It's the workflow part of Claude I really like, but as of the last, I don't know, couple weeks, when I want to talk to it, um, like I go back to ChatGPT and turn on my mic and have a conversation with it because right now that experience is better
Hmm.
through ChatGPT. So it makes sense when you say it depends on like the engine I'm choosing to power my
Yep.
assistant. Um,
Yeah. One of the hardest questions I get today is which tool should I use? Because the answer is it depends on the use case and it will also change in a week, right? So like it's a very difficult question, but you're referencing something that's really important is that there is no right answer right now. It is just the best answer today. And it'll continue to change, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. I do believe it'll continue to change. They'll continue to improve. They'll continue to improve divergently and convergently on certain use cases. So, you mentioned talking to it. I think I have the best experience when I talk to ChatGPT as well. But Gemini is getting very, very good as well. So it's all going to change. But you're referencing something that's important. Let's push on. Let's talk about one of the other quotes here. So I'm going to read it again. Because you're out of an imagination, for companies with imagination, you will do more with more. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is true. I think the crux of finding the value out of these AI tools is creativity and ideas. There is, I don't know if misnomer is the right word, but there is an idea that what AI is, the promise of AI is to take things off your plate and make it easier for you to do whatever it is you do. But in reality, it enables you to do more.
Hmm.
Okay, so what happens if I get to the point now where I can do more and I don't know what to do? Like whether you're an
Yep.
individual or whether you're a company, it doesn't matter how much compute and resources you have to do more. If you don't know what to do, like what's the
Yep.
point, right? So I like that quote in as much as I believe that like creativity and being able to think of ideas will drive the value of your AI tools.
Yeah. I mean, there's two things that drive invention, right? Necessity and imagination. Can we
Hmm.
agree to that, right?
Hmm.
I've had instances where we'll talk about in a future episode where necessity's absolutely driven me to just create a brand new AI thing that didn't exist in the world. We'll reserve that for now, but let's focus on imagination, right? Necessity will play a factor, but imagination is important too. In every instance where I think you're referencing where someone has said, "Hey, I I used to do this thing. AI does it really well. Now I do it this way." You're reimagining the way you operate. I talked to someone this weekend who actually put a little interesting framing in front of me. It's a senior developer at a startup, and he said English is the new coding language.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, talk to him a little about that. He manages a new workflow. He doesn't code anymore. He just manages the workflow. And he said, at this point, the coding language I use is English because I'm using it to describe design. I'm using it to deliberate on requirements. I'm using it to decide infrastructure, right? Like integration patterns. Um, and I code in plain language, I code in English, and then that's what gives rise to the deliverable. And his thought here is, and because that's the case, I'm now reimagining my workflow. And I'm not talking about what I'm we've been talking about in the past of like you've been forced into a new way of working with your workflow. He's reimagining his workflow entirely around the concept that English is the new coding language, which means GitHub's purpose is different now, right? Um, the way we collaborate with each other is different now, right? And so now he's looking at it as, well, if that's the case, and that's going to continue to be the case as this thing improves, um, what are our options? What are our possibilities? Because the limitations that used to exist on throughput, capacity, capabilities, those are also changing, and quite frankly, getting lower and lower. Those barriers are getting lower. So, um, what are the next steps? Now, I'm going to reserve answering that for him particularly because
Hmm.
that's his bread and butter, and that's something that he needs to kind of play out. But if you think about it, he took a step back and not only said, "I'm going to reimagine the workflow." He's taking a step back and saying, "I've reimagined the workflow. Now let's reimagine the possibilities with the new workflow." And that's a big deal, right? That's to me, that's doing more with more. And if you think about that in every step of your talk track around like AI is closing the gap on a lot of information asymmetry, I would love to do that with every workflow. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. We have to wrap this up at some point. But yeah, the imagination needs to run wild.
I think that is astute, that English is the new kind of
Mhm,
coding language. And it's interesting, it's fascinating to me because if you are good at picturing something in your mind and then being able to speak to it,
mhm.
you can actually skip so many steps. I mean, we were kind of enamored with stitch.withgoogle.com
Yep.
because it could create a wireframe.
Mhm,
I don't need the wireframe step if I can articulate what I need with
mhm.
language. I don't
Yeah.
need it. Um, but right now there's two very distinct workflows. Like I can give the LLM or my tool visuals,
Mhm,
or I can give it language. And I think the time it takes to, because even if you use a generative tool to create your visual, you still have to think through it and talk about it. And there's like some
yep.
work to create the visual. I can skip that step if I'm able to just articulate it. Um,
Yeah.
and part of like, and a huge part of that is just creativity, and that's a muscle. Like this is
Mhm,
something you can practice. You can practice, okay, this is what I wanted to do, how many different ways can I say it, and eventually you'll work on it and you'll learn what you need to include in your instructions and your prompts to get to answers quicker. And all of that is creativity, being able to picture these things. So I really like that English is kind of the new language for these things.
and collaboration is no longer around code, it's around
Hmm.
wherever creativity happens,
Yes.
right? So if that's in a Google Doc, you're now collaborating around creativity, which is an MD file or whatever. Maybe it's in GitHub, right? You're not collaborating in GitHub around code anymore, not necessarily. You're collaborating around creativity. um, and then obviously you have to do your quality assurance on and security checks around the code, but that's the code's not the point anymore. It's what
Right.
you're
Everyone is
manifesting.
becoming product owners, right?
Hmm.
Like they're becoming product owners instead of. I mean, I it makes me so sad sometimes to say things like that. Like we're becoming product owners and not engineers, because engineering, to me and a lot of folks, is an art,
Yeah.
right? Just as much as it is a practice. Um, and it was something I loved. But I am trying to like shift my mindset, because what always made me happy was when the code worked and I had a
Hmm.
thing that
Yeah.
did what I wanted it to do and it looked good and it worked well. Like that part still exists. I'm
Yeah.
just getting to it differently, right? And that is all, to me, that is all an exercise in creativity.
Yeah, I mean, and think about it. How often has code evolved, right? Code has evolved time and time again. It's just the next evolution. You now code in English. So, okay. Next one. Something along the lines, I won't read the quote, but something along the lines of if I measure at the end of the year and this highly paid engineer did not consume a ton of tokens, I'd be deeply alarmed. Again, it benefits the CEO of NVIDIA to want to say this. But, Chris, to me, this is akin to if I measure a senior engineer at the end of the year and they did not write a certain amount of lines of code, I would be alarmed. That's just not a good way to measure engineers, right? So if I think about tokens, if I took one great prompt to get to where I needed to go and then got the job done, I'm not going to be the one consuming the most amount of tokens. The person that takes a long path to get to the desire is going to be the one consuming tokens. Is this the right way to think about it, or is this the CEO of NVIDIA saying, buy more chips?
Buy more chips. I I think there is a world where it is the right way and it's not the right way. Because if you have the capacity to think of what is next, you have the creativity to think about what to, this goes back to like the earlier discussion. I have the power, but do I have the ideas? Do I have what to
Right.
do next? Because there is a world where there is someone using the tokens and their ideas are good and their ideas keep coming and they just blow through tokens. Like that is possible. Does token usage equal quality? Of course not. Of course not. So those are kind of my two perspectives. Is arbitrarily, you could absolutely see a world where someone uses a lot of tokens and it works out, and
Mm-hmm.
you think, oh, that's a great metric. He used so many tokens. When really, that's not it at all. The person just had a vision. It was vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
That's your feeling. Yeah, look, I think there's so much nuance to this. I think this is the quote that's the most NVIDIA CEO wanting to sell you chips. But I hear you. I think like the consumption of tokens is an interesting mechanism to measure adoption, and adoption doesn't necessarily mean efficacy. So that's important. Uh, I know we need to wrap up. I have one question for you. I
Okay.
want you to give me two examples, and
Okay.
I'll do the same. How are you running your household on current AI technologies? Give me two examples.
Two examples. The first one is my super weakness as a human is being able to remember dates and times. So I use AI to, I've connected my calendar. Our whole family puts all of our dates into the same calendar, and AI looks at it every day and it
Yep.
says, "Hi, Chris. uh, here's what's happening. Here's what's important. Maybe here's what to prioritize. Here's what not to forget about." And then I also have one that runs on Sundays that sets me up for the week. It says, "Okay, here's your week. Try not to forget these things." The other one is um, a it's closing a gap for me. So I'm diabetic and
Hmm.
I wear a sensor to let me know how
Okay.
much like sugar's in my blood. Okay, the app that comes with the sensor doesn't connect to Apple Health. I am an
Hmm.
iPhone user and I like to have all my data in one place. So I created a workflow through my iPhone to take a screenshot. Like when I measure my blood, it takes a screenshot, it sends it. Right now I'm using OpenAI, sends it to OpenAI. OpenAI figures out the number on the screen
Yeah.
and then sends it back. And because I'm running an Apple workflow, I can update Apple Health with that number. So now instead of clicking the button for the native button for the app, I made my own shortcut. I click that, it opens the app, it takes a picture, and then it sets Apple Health. So those are two ways.
That I love that. All right, so I'll share my two ways. Number one, I've already sent the scheduling one. If you're not using AI to manage your calendar, do it. The easiest way, in my opinion, is just to just get into Gemini or one of the tools that can connect to your Google Calendar. Uh, Create a task, have it review your calendar every day. Look at the weather, give you weather reports, give you an inspirational quote, whatever it is that you need to start your day, that's based off your calendar. Schedule that. I do the same, and it works. I do one for every morning, and I have it actually attach a newspaper like experience where I say, these are the topics, go get me the topics and headlines for that day. Um, and then I do that every Sunday as well for the week. The number The second use case that I can give you here, Chris, is we manage our household literally on Gemini. So we have an HOA. We took the HOA papers, the bylaws, we took all the meeting minutes, we've put our floor plan and a description of our household in every room, and everything we've done. So roof replacement, et cetera, all the things we've done. We've tossed it into a notebook. So that notebook is our house. And we associated that notebook to a Gemini thread where you can talk to your house.
Oh, nice.
So if we have a party or something, it has the floor plan. We want to have a party. We want to host pretty much everyone in the kitchen and in the upstairs living room. Tell us how to do it. Tell us like what to think about in terms of floor plan, where to put the furniture. It knows all that stuff. So um, you name a use case, right? We want to do a remodel of a room or whatever it is. Um, it is our house. We're talking to our house, and our house is telling us this is the way to use me. So that is the use case. Bring us home, Chris.
I just want to thank everyone. We've gotten a lot of traction over these early episodes, a lot of interaction. So I want to say thank you. Thank you if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube. We're looking at uh, adding more to this podcast. We're looking at expanding maybe to other channels. We're looking for other ways to get feedback. So just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I haven't said it yet, but I feel like I can say it today is like and subscribe.
Like
Official.
and subscribe. I like
Official.
it.
Okay.
I like
All
it.
right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. See you next time. Bye.